In JavaScript, why we use this type is equal to module inside this script uh, tag, something like this. Type is equal to module in all smaller case. So what it does is it's enable es module for this script file inside browser only. And talking about its feature, it's use strict mode by default. So if we declare any variable using where, it will goes to global scope. And if we again declare there that same name variable inside other script file, it will override by that variable. So this will prevent to happen that thing. So inside use strict, there will be uh, more kind of strict rules that enable by default when we use type is equal to module. Next feature is it's enable import export things. If we want some features or function from other files, other JavaScript files, then we can import export from each other using this type is equal to module, because it's enable import export things. uh, Next is we don't have to use differ here. It's by default behave like differ when we use type is equal to module. It's execute only after the all HTML parsing are done, so we don't have to use differ. So these are the three features of this ES module whenever we enable the ES module for that script file. uh, Talking about next use case is if we have so many features and code inside this script.js file only, then it's difficult to debug the code. If we have some bug inside code and we return all the code inside this script.js file, then it's really difficult to debug the code. So what we can do is we can create separate file for every features, and we can import that thing uh, from that file, and we can use that features inside this script.js. so that that's how we create separate features using type is equal to module. So let me give you one example, like let me do fetch API here. This function will, so this is like a features, we call this fetching API feature. Let me write this all thing inside this script only, then we can pass this feature inside other file, then we can use this feature inside script. So let me write all things inside only this script.js file. So let me um, fetch. I have this JSON placeholder, so let me fetch function that will be return promise handle by then. In response, we have to convert into JSON, then we can return this promise. Then we have data. So video is recording, yes, 4 minutes. Then let me create one variable, let. So this will return a array of users. So let me users, initially it will be null. Then we can store that user data inside this user variable. Let me in error, let me log that error for now. Not error, error. Then if there is something inside user, then what we can do, we can add this on the DOM for let I is equal to 0, I less than data, not data, users dot length I plus plus. Then what we can do is we have to do ul some message, what's up, id is equal to container. So let me create li file here. Li element is equal to document dot create element that will be list. Li element here will be const dot text content will be users of I, and how the data is look like something like this. Let me add here. So let me access the name dot name. Then we want that container document dot query selector, it will be id container, spelling is correct I think, container, double check. Then append that all things, append child li element. If I go here, there will be no user because this is synchronous code and this is asynchronous. So fetch will run, this will run after this code. So we have to create one function that will be render data, and we can use this function after there is some data. So if we go here, there is no data. Yes, we have to call the fetch API. Still there is no data. What is the error? Fetch API is not defined. What the? Yes. function yes, there will be data. What is the error? Script.2.js. So where is script.2.js? Yes, we have to remove this. Now there will be all the data from this API, but right now all these things are cluttered. This we can code this fetch API outside of this script file that will be called as fetch API.js. Then what we can do is, let me copy all the things and we can pass here the things. So this is kind of feature, fetch API features, and we don't have to write all this thing here. We just need this features function. What we can do is we have to export this export fetch API and users we can use as a object. Multiple things if we want to export, then we can use as a object, or for single things we can use default. So we have already enabled the type is equal to module. Then we can import something inside this script.js file. We don't have to, I think, type is equal to module for this fetch API, because we already used for this script.js file that will be type is equal to module. So if we are importing something from like users and fetch API, so it will also become a like it will also enable the ES module by default if we are importing inside this script.js file. Then we don't have to make this type is equal to module. So let's see it's work or not. So we have already this users and we don't have fetch API, so we have to run this, and again we have to pass this render data, so it will run after the. But here what will happen is this all code run first, then this will run. So let me only do here render that data after that fetch API. So let's see it will work or not. So it will not working. We have to, I think, pass this to this fetch API. So we can do export this render data function, export. Let me do so here we are passing only one function, so we can do export render data. And for importing we can use import render data. So we can use here whatever name. If we export by export, if we use export default, we can use any name like render. Here only render, it will also work. What is the error? Fetch API 404 not found. Script.js. Yes, we have to use here .js, otherwise it will not work. Actually we have to give always .js here. In the React it like skip that thing, we can write here in React, or we can ignore that thing, but here in vanilla JavaScript it's necessary to do this extension things, and as you can see it's working. So we like did here that module things. We create another module for this fetch file. So if there is something problem with this fetch inside here, some bug, then we only go to this file only. We don't have to find all the features and function inside this script.js file only. So this will be better to code. This will be better practice for to code like if we have to build some complex app, then in vanilla JavaScript we can create every features have a separate file for every features. We can create separate file for every features. So this, and what we can do is we can I think create this render data file also. We can create separate file, so let's see it's work or not. Render data, and we can reuse these things again and again for all the other things. Render data, and we can also use directly here like export default, export default. And what we can do is we can export this render from render data .js. Okay, so we have only code inside the fetch API user. We don't need this here, we need inside here. User fetch API, so we have only this script fetch API. It's not working. What is the error? Fetch API is not defined. Yes, we have to use this. I think I messed up. So we need the user for this function. Okay, we need fetch API only for this user. So now it should be working. We need only user here, users. So now it's working. So this is how we use modules. We use only this fetch API for calling that feature. We have created two features like fetch API and render data, and all modules are working fine. Just we have to remember that we need to use .js extension every time when we are importing something. So talking about in nodejs, so this type module is enable ES module for this inside browser only, but in nodejs what we can do is, let me create code.js, and here if we have to import something, we can't do like let me code2.js, and here I can do const variable name, that will be my name. I can do module dot exports is equal to name. File is not common JS. So if we use directly here, it not enable this to file to import export features. It's not enable to ES module. what we can do is we can use npm init, and it will create package.json file. Let me use y, so it will give yes for all things. So here it will be create a package.json file, as you can see. And what it does is it's enable not the es module, it enable common js. So we can use like old method, this module dot exports, and so it's not init npm, not npm I have to use let me delete these things and let me use npm initialize y. Now it should be created modules that will be common js. So let me import this name inside this code.js. If I we have to use older syntax that will be in common.js, that const name is equal to require spelling is wrong. We have to use code 2. If I log here this name, if it's working, then it will be common.js, not init. Why do you run code 1? So it's working, as you can see. By default it's in common.js. So for browser we use type is equal to module. For nodejs, not in the browser, for nodejs we use here for enabling es module. For this all the js file we can enable using here type is equal to, as you can see it showing, where is the here, as you can see it's gone common.js. So by default it's common.js that we are using. Import export syntax, this will be module export. And if we want to export same as we did in this here, we export like fetch, where is fetch, we export something like this. We can do here also something like this, but name should be similar when we are importing, otherwise it will won't work. So here also we want to use that es module import export, similar to a react kind of thing. So we can use here module inside this package file. It will be, as you can see. So now we can use that inside. Now it will won't work this. We can use similar syntax that we previously use, like export. We don't need this export, and single if we want to pass multiple things, then we use name. And here this syntax is not worked here, we can use import here. that will be name. So if we use here any name, this also work, because it will not work because we use here as a object. So this will not work. We have to use name from where is code 2, and we always to use .js here, otherwise it will won't work. So if I run again code, what it say, import name request module, export, I use same name, then why it's showing that error. Code 2.js, let me use export default, let me use name, now it's working. Then why named export, also people called is named export when we use something like this. So we are using yes, we need to destructure that. As you can see, it's working. So this is how we use type module in browser and type module inside node.js, something like this. This will also by default create use strict mode and give that new syntax of import export things inside node.js, but you have to always remember that extensions, otherwise it will not work. And here inside node.js also we use similar kind of things. We created separate modules for all things fetch API and render data. Similar, we can create different modules for each features, and we can use that features inside. We can create index.js file inside node.js. We can access that fetch API features inside this index.js. So thank you.